Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Doctor, the second Wednesday is the last lecture that we will take.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we can conclude on Wednesday. We still have tomorrow and Wednesday. So we have enough time to conclude Osanu. Okay, last time we left the discussion of at Act 2, Scene 1. Okay, I was reading Iago's categorization of women, and I said Iago sees women in categories, i.e. he doesn't see them as individual human beings, each of whom has a separate identity and a separate character. So for him, women are fair and wise, black and witty, and he gives a long list of different types of women. So this means that Iago doesn't see man. Here man refers to men and women. Iago doesn't see man as a human being. So man for him is one kind or another. So he categorizes people just as he categorizes objects and animals. Okay, then Act 2, Scene 150. Okay, in my edition it is page 51. Okay, now in Act 2, Scene 1, Osano, Iago, Desdemona, and Cassio arrive in Cyprus. Okay, and we know that the Ottoman fleet has been destroyed by the storm. Okay, so Osanu has embarked on the mission of facing the Ottoman fleet. It so happens that a storm takes place at sea and destroys the Ottoman fleet. So no war takes place between the Venetians and the Ottomans. I.e. no war takes place between the Christians and the heathens, i.e. the pagans. So the Turks in the play stand for heathens, for pagans, and the Venetians or the Italians stand for the Christian. Okay? Now Iago in Act 2, Scene 1, is addressing Roderigo. Okay? So I will read Iago's statement that starts at line 207. Exeunt Osanu and Desdemona. Iago to an attendant. Do thou meet me presently at the harbor. To Roderigo, come hither. If thou be valiant, as they say, these men being in love have then a nobility in their natures more than is native to them. Listen to me. The lieutenant tonight watches on the court of guard. First, I must tell thee this. Desdemona is directly in love with him. Okay, so tonight the guards will celebrate the marriage of their major or their leader Othello. Iago will force Cassio to drink as much wine as possible so that he will become drunk. Okay, now in the play, Cassio becomes drunk. Roderigo attacks him. They engage in a scuffle, i.e. in a fight. Montano, the governor of Cyprus, appears on the scene. He tries to separate the two parties. Montano himself gets wounded, and Cassio himself gets wounded. Okay, so this is Iago's plan to destroy Cassio's reputation as a lieutenant. Okay, so a lieutenant like Cassio should not be a drunkard, and he should not engage with scuffles with his fellow citizens. Okay? So as a result of the scuffle, Cassio is dismissed. Okay, Osanu dismisses him, and he is no longer Othello's lieutenant. Okay, now Iago is plotting against Osanu, Desdemona, and Cassio. So that's why he says to Roderigo, Desdemona is directly in love with him, i.e. he is in love with Cassio. Roderigo with him, why? It is not possible. Iago, lay thy finger thus, puts his finger to his lips, and let thy soul be instructed. Mark me with what violence she first loved the more, but for bragging and telling her fantastical lies. To love him still for prating, let not thy discreet heart think it. Her eye must be fed. And what delight shall she have to look on the devil? Okay, so this is Iago's view of Desdemona. Iago believes that Desdemona has married Othello because she wants to satisfy her sexual needs. Therefore, he portrays Desdemona as an oversexed woman, i.e. she is controlled by his physical and sexual needs. Okay, so she has married Osanu the Black because Osanu is associated with hypersexuality. So the purpose of this marriage is to satisfy her animalistic needs. This is one point. The second point is that her eye must be fed. What delight shall she have to look on the devil? When the blood is made full with the act of sport, there should be a game to inflame it and to give it satiety, loveliness in favor, sympathy in years, manners, and beauties, all which the more is defective in. Okay, so after she has fulfilled her sexual desires, she will look for a more handsome man. This is what he's saying. Her eye must be fed. And what delight shall she have to look on the devil? So Osanu, according to Iago, is a devil. He is evil. He is black. Desdemona doesn't enjoy his physical beauty. She enjoys his physical power, his sexual strength. So that's why she will look for a more handsome or a younger man who will satisfy all of her needs. So in this case, she will look for Cassio. This is what he is telling Rodrigo. Now, for want of these required conveniences, her delicate tenderness will find itself abused. Begin to heave the gorge, disrelish and abhor the moor, very nature will instruct her in it and compel her to some second choice. Now, sir, this granted as it is a most pregnant and unforced position, who stands so eminent in the degree of this fortune as you does. A knave very vulnerable. No further conscionable than in putting on the near form of civil and humane seeming for the better compass of his soul and most hidden loose affection. Okay? So she will find her ideal, i.e. her ideal man, in Cassio. So Cassio is handsome, he's good at speaking, he has a weakness to women. He has a weakness to women, weakness, W-E-A-K. He has a weakness to women, i.e. he easily falls in love with women, and he puts on the mask of a civil man in order to satisfy his basic needs. Okay? So his outer appearance, which associates him with civilization, with culture, with humanity, hides behind it Cassio's animalistic nature. Okay? So Cassio hides his real nature behind his beautiful, his nice physical appearance. Why none? Why none? A slipper and subtle knave, a finder of accusations that has an eye can stamp and counterfeit advantages, though true advantage never present itself. A devilish knave. Besides, the knave is handsome, young, and hath all those requisites in him that folly and green minds look after. The pestilent, complete knave, and the woman has found him already. Okay, so this is how Iago views Cassio and Desdemona. Okay, so he views Desdemona as a highly oversexed woman who wants to satisfy her physical, her sexual needs through her marriage to Othello. When she is satisfied, she will look for a younger and more handsome man than Osanu. And this man is Cassio. So this is how he views Desdemona. He also views Cassio as an ignoble person. Okay? So he seems to be a noble man, an educated man, but deep down he is a beast. Okay, now, as we read the play, we realize that Iago's statements are not true. Okay? Okay, Act 2, Scene 3. You may skip the first 10 lines, enter Iago. Skip the first lines, 10 lines. Enter Iago. Cassio, welcome Iago. We must to the watch. Iago, not this hour, Lieutenant. It is not yet 10 of the clock. Our general cast us thus. Let us not therefore blame. He hath not yet made wanton the night with her, and she is sport for Jove. Again, here he emphasizes the sexual relationship between Osanu and Desdemona. Okay? And he portrays Desdemona as a woman whom Jove desires to have as a wife. And according to myth, Jove is the chief of Olympian gods, and he is well known to have had many wives. Okay? Again, here the emphasis is on the physical part of the relationship between Osano and Desdemona. Cassio, this is how Cassio views Desdemona. She is a most exquisite lady. Iago and I'll warrant her, full of game. Cassio, indeed, she is a most fresh and delicate creature. Iago, what an eye she has. Methinks it sounds a parley to provocation. Okay, so according to Iago, she is full of game. Okay, and here game refers to the desire of satisfying her sexual needs. This is the meaning of game. What an eye she has. Methinks it sounds a parley to provocation, i.e., her eye seduces men to fall in love with her. Okay, so he sees her as a seductive woman. Okay, she, in other words, invites men to have a relation with her. So this means that Desdemona is an immoral. And yet methinks right modest. Cassio focuses on the modesty of Desdemona. He focuses on her delicate nature. Okay, so he focuses on the positive attributes of Desdemona's character, whereas Iago focuses on the sexual part of her character, which is not true, in fact. Iago, when she speaks, is it not an alarm to love? Cassio is indeed perfection. Okay, so Iago describes Desdemona as a whore, W-H-O-R-E, as a prostitute, who invites people to fall or to make love to her. According to Cassio, she is a perfect woman. Iago, happiness to their sheets, Come, Lieutenant, I have a stoup of wine, and here without are a brace of Cyprus gallants that would fain have a measure to the health of Black Osano. So now he is preparing to lead Cassio to drink a lot of wine. Okay, now if you want to compare Iago's statement concerning
Doctor, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so I want you to go back to Act 2, Scene 1. There is a statement said by Cassio. In this statement, Cassio describes Desdemona. And this description contrasts with Iago's view of Desdemona. It is line, let's say, 60 or 59 of Act 2, Scene 1. Montano, but good lieutenant, is your general wife, i.e. is your general married? Cassio, most fortunately, he has achieved a maid that paragons description and wild fame. Okay? That paragons description and wild fame, i.e. she is beyond description. She is perfection itself. One that excels the quirks of blazing pens. Okay? So her beauty, her perfection cannot be described, let's say, by poets. This is what he wants to say. One that excels the quirks of blazing pens. And in the essential vesture of creation does tire the engineer. Okay? And in the essential vesture of creation does tire the engineer. Okay? So her beauty is beyond description. And this description of his highlights the fact that he respects, he appreciates Desdemona. Okay? So here he emerges as the opposite of Iago. Okay, so the man celebrate the marriage of their leader. They drink a lot. Cassio is forced to drink. He becomes drunk and he fights with Rodrigo. And Montano, the governor of Cyprus, is wounded because he tries to separate the fighting parties. Okay, it is Act 2, Scene 3. Okay, so Othello dismisses Cassio as a lieutenant. Iago says, it is line 245 in my edition. 245 in my edition. Iago, what? Are you hurt, Lieutenant? Cassio, I passed all surgery. Iago, marry, God forbid. Cassio, reputation. Oh, I have lost my reputation. I have lost the immortal part of myself, and what remains is bestial. My reputation, Iago, my reputation. Okay, so here Iago asks Cassio if he is physically hurt, if he is bodily hurt. Cassio says, I passed all surgery. Here Cassio means his wound is a moral wound. It is not a physical wound. Iago says, marry, God forbid. So he thinks that Cassio is wounded physically. Cassio says, reputation. Oh, I have lost my reputation. I have lost the immortal part of myself. Okay, so this is the moral wound that Cassio has received. He has lost his reputation as a warrior. Okay, so reputation is a moral aspect of man's character. It is related to his moral being. So that's why Cassio says, I have lost the immortal part of myself. Okay, so Cassio doesn't care about physical wounds and physical hurts. He worries about the moral wound that he has incurred. So according to Cassio, drunkenness has reduced him to the level of an animal. Yes, that's why he says, and what remains is bestial, i.e. animalistic. Okay, so drunkenness brings man closer to the level of animals simply because drunkenness turns off the function of the mind. Okay, so a drunk person cannot think. Okay, so he doesn't act according to the dictates of his mind, so he acts as an animal. So according to Cassio, he has lost the most important immortal part of himself, and he has ended up as a beast. Iago says, as I am an honest man, I had thought you had received some bodily wound. There is more sense in that than in reputation. Okay? So the physical wound for Iago is more important than the moral wound. Okay? So the bodily wound is more important than reputation. Reputation is an idle, most false imposition, oft got without merit and lost without deserving. So reputation, according to Iago, is not part and parcel of human nature. It is acquired by man. So that's why he says it is an idle, most false imposition. Okay? So it is something imposed on man. It is not part and parcel of man's true nature according to him. So this means that Iago doesn't appreciate the spiritual and moral values of humanity. Okay? So he cares about the body. This emphasis on the importance of the body lowers him to the level of villains and evil people. So this reflects his evil character. So he is a man who is controlled by his animal nature. You have lost no reputation at all unless you repute yourself such a loser. What man? There are more ways to recover the general again. You are but now cast in his mood, a punishment more in policy than in malice, even so as one would beat his offenseless dog to affright an imperious lion. Sue to him again, and he's yours. Cassio, I will rather sue to be despised than to deceive so good a commander with so slight, so drunken, so indiscreet an officer. Drunk, and speak parrot, and squabble, swagger, swear, and discourse fustian with one's own shadow? O thou invisible spirit of wine, if thou hast no name to be known by, let us call thee devil. Okay? So Cassio has lost his position as a lieutenant, and his position as a lieutenant is part and parcel of his reputation as a man. So that's why he feels that he has been destroyed. But Iago tries to convince him that he can win the approval of his commander through Desdemona. So he tries to convince him to talk to Desdemona so that she can convince Othello to reinstate, i.e. reappoint, reinstate, reinstate, reinstate Cassio as his lieutenant. Okay, Act 2, Scene 3. You may skip, let's say, 1, 2 pages. Okay, it is line 320, let's say 5. The middle of the line. He says, how am I then a villain? Can you find it?
Yes, Dr. Yusuf.
Okay. This is Iago. Okay. So Cassio leaves. Iago is left alone on stage. Here Iago utters one of his soliloquies. Okay. So this is one of his soliloquies. Okay, how am I then a villain? To counsel Cassio to this parallel course, directly to his good. Divinity of hell, when devils will the blackest sins put on, they do suggest at first with heavenly shows, as I do now. For whilst this honest fool tries Desdemona to repair his fortune, and she for him pleads strongly to the Moor, I'll pour this pestilence into his ear, that she repeals him for her body's lust, and by how much she strives to do him good, she shall undo her credit with the Moor. So will I turn her virtue into pitch, and out of her own goodness make the net that shall enmesh them all. Okay, so this is his plot against Cassio, Desdemona, and Osanu. Okay, so when Desdemona pleads to Osanu to reappoint Cassio as his lieutenant, Iago will lead him to believe that Desdemona is already in love with Cassio, i.e. he wants to show him that she is betraying him with Cassio. So that's why she is asking the Moor to take him as his lieutenant. Okay, so this is the dark side of his personality. He is, in fact, Satan. And he says divinity of hell. Yes, this is divinity of hell. Okay, so this is the divinity of Satan, who misleads people and causes their destruction. So that's why Iago is portrayed as the Satan in the play. And Satan is usually associated with the shadow, i.e. the dark side of human nature. So in this sense, Iago is the embodiment of the dark side of human nature. Okay, Act 3. Scene 3. Okay, Act 3, Scene 3, it is line 125. Act 3, Scene 3, line 125. Iago is talking to Othello. He says, for Michael Cassio, I dare be sworn, I think that he is honest. Osanu, I think so too. Iago, men should be what they seem, or those that be not, would they might seem none. Osanu, certain, men should be what they seem. Again, this is another point of contrast between Osanu and Iago. Okay? So I told you last time that Osanu upholds the Renaissance optimistic view of man. He believes that the outer appearance of man reflects his inner self. So according to Osanu, man is a well-integrated person. The body and the soul reflect each other. Okay? So this is Osanu on the one hand. On the other hand, Iago pretends to be upholding the Renaissance optimistic view of man. So that's why he says, men should be what they seem. Okay? So men should be what they seem. So what they seem reflects or refers to their physical appearance. Okay? So men deep down should be what their appearance reflects them to be. Okay? So this is not true as far as Iago is concerned. Iago doesn't uphold the Renaissance optimistic view of man. Okay? Iago upholds the pessimistic view of man that maintains that man is a wretched creature. Okay? Iago is the embodiment of the philosophical statement that maintains that man is worth to man. Man is worth to man. So this means that man is evil by nature. And Iago is evil by nature. However, he hides his evil nature behind his physical appearance and behind his language. Okay? So his protestations of appreciation, of loyalty, of faithfulness hide the evil side of his inner self. Okay? So when he says men should be what they seem, or those that be not, would they might seem none, is ironic. Yes, this is dramatic irony. This is situational irony. Okay? So he is preaching the Renaissance optimistic view of man. Osano takes his statement at its face value. He takes Iago's statement at its face value, i.e. at the literal level. Osano doesn't understand that Iago is a hypocrite. Okay? So he doesn't understand Iago's real character, but we, the audience, know that Iago is not a proponent of the optimistic view of man. So that's why this is dramatic irony. Okay? So Iago expresses a statement that we can understand, but Osanu cannot interpret the meaning of this statement. Okay? And I said at the beginning of discussing Osanu, this is Osanu's tragic flaw. He doesn't understand the true nature of man. And in particular, he doesn't understand the true nature of being. And this is the cause of his destruction. Okay? Now, Act 3, Scene 3, you may skip almost a page. Iago, line 165, oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. Okay? So Iago insinuates INSINUATES. Iago insinuates that Desdemona is betraying Othello with Cassio. So here Othello becomes disturbed. So Othello says, Iago says to him, oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster, i.e. jealousy is the green-eyed monster, which doth mock the meat it feeds on. Okay, so jealousy leads to the destruction of the jealous person. So this is what he is saying. Jealousy leads to the destruction of the jealous person. So it is the green-eyed monster, which doth mock the meat it feeds on. That cuckold lives in bliss. The cuckold is the man who is betrayed by his wife. That cuckold lives in bliss, who's certain of his fate, loves not his wronger. But oh, what damned minutes tells he over who dotes, yet doubts, suspects, yet strongly loves. Okay? So here he is referring to the fact that Osanu strongly loves his wife, and he is prone to be jealous for her. Okay? So here he creates the feeling of jealousy within Othello. And in fact, Othello is a jealous person. And last time, or at the beginning of the discussion of Othello, Ali asked me about jealousy, and I said, from a Christian point of view, a man who is jealous for his wife is a man who doesn't commit a sin. So in this sense, jealousy is a Christian value, because jealousy is
As a virtue, we mean here, doctor. Sorry for interruption.
okay, Ali, go on.
Sorry, I'm saying here as yani, we've taken it here from the positive view concerning
course.
that we consider it as a virtue, concerning
Yes,
your own confirmation.
of course, Ali. Here we are taking it from a positive point of view because in English there is a difference between jealous of,
Jealous for.
yes.
Exactly.
So when I am jealous of you, this means that it has a negative meaning.
Mhm.
Okay? Now, jealous for means that a man cares about the honesty, the chastity, the reputation of his wife.
Here
This
it
is,
is a virtue.
of course. So this is according to all of us. Now, if we take it from a Christian point of view, especially because all of the say that jealousy here is a Christian value because it is a means of preserving the sanctity of marriage that has been sanctified by God himself, i.e. by the church, and the church represents God.
Doctor, even that it leads to the destruction of both of them.
Of course, at the end he has to die. He is a tragic hero.
No, I'm talking about the jealousy.
Okay,
We
here I am
consider
using
take it as a value. Sorry.
yes, it is a value.
Okay, thanks.
It is a good value, Mehd, right?
It's
Yes,
a Christian value. Yes.
Okay, so here, in the context of the play, it is a verse. Okay, so if we study Osanu as a noble character in the play, his jealousy for his wife is something positive. Although we know that Desdemona is not betraying him with Cassio. Although we know that she is
Doctor,
actually
you should consider the reason of jealousy in order to identify it. In order to identify the kind of jealousy, we should consider the reason of the jealousy.
Yes, he is jealous for his wife because a page before this one he says, I do love thee. He's talking about Desdemona. He says, perdition catch my soul, but I do love thee. If I don't love you, let my soul perish. This is the meaning of perdition.
Okay.
And when I love thee not, chaos is come again. Okay, so his love for Desdemona is a source of order, is a source of life for Othello. Okay, so when he thinks that she is betraying him with Cassio, he realizes that his whole being, his life, is destroyed, is controlled by disorder. Okay, and if you read the play, Iago arranges for a meeting between Cassio and Desdemona. And he brings Osano to the site of the meeting. So Osano sees Desdemona talking to Cassio. So in this case, Iago insinuates that, i.e. he suggests, he insinuates that Desdemona is in love with Osano. Okay, so Osano life for him is betraying him with Cassio.
Doctor, sorry for interruption, but we're losing your own voice for the most important points.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Now clear.
Okay.
Just we're not talking about insinuation.
Yes. I said Iago arranges for a meeting between Desdemona and Cassio. Okay, so they meet at a certain place. He brings Osanu to the site of the meeting. So Osanu sees with his own eye that Desdemona is talking to Cassio.
Mhm.
At this point, Iago insinuates to Osanu that Desdemona may be betraying him with Cassio.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So here, Osanu starts to doubt the chastity, the faithfulness of his wife.
This is the point that Doctor were asking about. No, Othello really noticed that or not? So yes.
Okay? So he saw Desdemona talking to Cassio. And Iago leads him to believe that she is betraying him with Cassio. And I think Cassio kisses her hand, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why he misinterprets this kiss. Okay? So earlier on he says that let his soul perish if he doesn't love her. So this means that Desdemona is a source of life for Othello. It is the source of order in his life. Now, he thinks that she is betraying him with Cassio. He realizes that disorder will control his own being. Okay? So that's why I said he is jealous for her. And to be jealous for her is to protect the sanctity of their marriage. And we know that marriage is a religious sacrament for Christianity. هو سر مقدس. Okay?
Yes, Doctor.
So that's why he is jealous for Desdemona. And in this sense, his jealousy is positive because it shows us that he is a noble person. Okay? So his jealousy deconstructs the European view of black people as animals controlled by their sexual drives. Okay? It deconstructs, it subverts Iago's view that Osanu and Desdemona have married to satisfy their physical needs. This is not true. Okay? So their love relationship is a spiritual relationship. Okay? It is highly moralistic. So it is not only based on lust and sex, as Iago maintains. No, it is really based on love. And during the Renaissance, there were two views of love. There was the physical love, and there was spiritual love. The purpose of physical love was to satisfy the physical needs of the two persons. Spiritual love was to bring two lovers into a certain kind of unity. And Shakespeare portrays this spiritual love in Romeo and Juliet. Okay? So that's why when we study Elizabethan poetry, we come across Elizabethan love poetry in which the lover suffers a lot as a result of his love for his lady. Okay, so the lady doesn't requite his love, so he suffers a lot. In the 17th century, the Cavaliers made fun of the Elizabethan poets who dealt with love. For them, love should be physical. Okay, so
If you please, Doctor.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, again, this point, if you please, Doctor.
Which one? The point of the Cavaliers?
Yes, if you please.
Okay. Cavaliers. Cavaliers. The Cavalier poets deal with physical love in their poems. Okay, so they fall in love with women in order to have a physical relation with them. So they want to enjoy the beauty of their women. Okay, for example, one poet says, "Why so pale and one constant lover?" Okay, so here he is making fun of the Elizabethan lover who suffers as a result of his love. Another poet says, he himself, John Suckling, says, love with me made no stays, a bit any been but she and that very face. So if love survives with him for a short period of time, it means that he is enjoying the physical aspects of this love. Okay, so his love is physical, not spiritual. Okay, in the case of Romeo and Juliet, the purpose of love is to have a family, is to propagate life on earth. And in Romeo and Juliet, the two lovers sacrifice themselves for the sake of their families. The two families are enemies, and they have been at feuds with each other for a long period of time. Okay? So the purpose of writing Romeo and Juliet is to show how love can lead to life. Okay, so from a ethical point of view, Verona in Romeo and Juliet is suffering from death, is suffering from a disease, and it is Romeo and Juliet's duty to remedy this disease. Okay, so love in this play is a highly spiritual love. It is not only a physical love that leads man to satisfy his needs. Okay, now Osanu considers Desdemona as a source of life for him. He is jealous for her because he wants to preserve the sanctity of his marriage. And this is mainly Christian. Okay, what God has united cannot be separated by man. Okay, so marriage is sanctified by God himself. Okay, so as a Christian character, Osano views love, views life, views marriage from this Christian point of view. Okay, so he says, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster, which doth mock the meat it feeds on. Okay, now Othello at the end of the play admits that he loved too well. He loved Desdemona passionately. He didn't love, let's say, wisely. So this is the problem with Othello. So maybe his jealousy, yes, it led to his destruction, and he admits that it is his jealousy that led to his destruction. But he is sacrificed for the sake of preserving a certain Christian concept, which is the sanctity of marriage. And I took it a little bit further, and I said this symbolizes the sanctity of the relationship or of the relationships between human beings. Okay, so through his marriage, he bridges the gap between black and white people. Is it clear?
Very clear. Thanks, Doctor.
Okay, is it clear, Mahd?
Yes, doctor, very clear, thanks.
Okay, so his jealousy led to his destruction. Yes, it is fine. But he sacrificed himself for a certain noble cause. Okay? So jealousy here is not a sin, it is aversion. You may skip almost a page. It is line 195. Iago is talking to Othello. the middle of the line. The line starts with franker spirit. Therefore, as I am bound, i.e., since it is my duty to tell you, receive it from me. I speak not yet of proof. I don't have enough proof that Desdemona is not faithful to you. Look to your wife. Observe her well with Cassio. Wear your eyes thus, not jealous nor secure. I wouldn't have your free, noble nature out of self-bounty be abused. Look to it. I know our country disposition well. In Venice they do let heaven see the pranks. They dare not show their husbands. Their best conscience is not to leave it undone, but keep it unknown. Okay? So this is Iago. So he is trying to convince Osanu that Desdemona is betraying him. And he says, I know our country disposition well. In other words, Iago knows the disposition, the nature of the Venetian women very well. So Venetian women do betray their husbands, although they keep their betrayal unknown. Okay, so here he is telling Osano that all Venetian women are prostitutes, and they usually betray their husbands with other men. So in this case, he leads him to think that Desdemona is one of these prostitutes. Osano, dost thou say so? Iago, she did deceive her father, marrying you. And when she seemed to shake and fear your looks, she loved them most. Othello, and so she did. Iago, why? Go to then. She that so young could give out such a seeming to seal her father's eyes up close as oak. He thought 'twas witchcraft, but I am much to blame. I humbly do beseech you of your pardon for too much loving you. Okay, so he says to him, she betrayed her father, she's going to betray her husband. Okay, Act 3, Scene 3. You will also skip a page. Iago leaves Othello on stage. It is line 255 in my edition. Iago, I once more take my leave. Exit. Okay? Othello, this fellows of exceeding honesty. Again, this is one of Othello's soliloquies. This fellows of exceeding honesty and knows all qualities with a learned spirit of human dealings. Okay, so he still believes that Iago is an honest person and knows everything about human nature. If I do prove her haggard, i.e. a whore, though that her jesses were my dear heartstrings, I'd whistle her off and let her down the wind to prey at fortune. Haply, for I am black, and have not those soft parts of conversation that chamberers have, or for I am declined into the valley of years, yet that's not much. She's gone. I am abused, and my relief must be to loathe her. O curse of marriage, that we can call these delicate creatures ours, and not their appetites. I had rather be a toad and live upon the vapor of a dungeon than keep a corner in the thing I love for others' uses. Yet 'tis the plague of great ones. Prerogative are they less than the base? 'Tis destiny unshunnable, i.e. destiny that cannot be avoided, like death, i.e. it is the destiny of great ones to be betrayed by their wives. Even then, this fourth plague is fated to us when we do quicken. Look where she comes. Okay, so as a result of Iago's lecture on unfaithfulness, Osanu comes to the conclusion that marriage is based on sexual desires rather than on delicate human relationships. Okay, so he comes to the conclusion that marriage is based on sexual desires rather than on delicate human relationships. And in the soliloquy, he maintains that if she proves to be a prostitute, he will kill her, even if her death will lead to his own destruction. Okay, so here Othello's revenge is similar to Hamlet's revenge, right? Hamlet wants to kill his uncle to purge the state of the animal that rules the kingdom. And Othello wants to kill his wife in order to restore chastity and honor into human relationships. This is how he thinks. Okay, so these are his own ideas and his own thoughts. Okay, so that's why he wants to make sure that she is betraying him with Cassio before he kills her. And here enter Desdemona and Emilia. Okay, so Desdemona appears on the stage. Othello mistreats her. She has a handkerchief, a napkin. She realizes that her husband is angry. So she thinks that her husband is having a headache. So she wants to bind his head with the handkerchief that she has. Okay? Now the handkerchief is a gift that Othello has given her. The handkerchief has a great significance in the play. Okay? Now according to the play, Othello's mother has given him this handkerchief. And when he has married Desdemona, he has given her his mother's handkerchief. The handkerchief is white with certain figures on it. So I think it has the figures of strawberry. Red strawberries are embroidered on this white handkerchief. Okay? Now, Iago knows about the handkerchief. So that's why he told his wife before this scene to steal this handkerchief. So he knows that Desdemona owns the handkerchief that Othello has given her. He wants his wife to steal it. Okay? Now, Desdemona wants to bind her husband's head with the handkerchief. Osanu brushes her handkerchief aside. It is mentioned in the stage direction. Okay, Osanu says your napkin is too late. He brushes her handkerchief aside and it falls. He says, let it alone. Come, I'll go in with you. Okay, so Othello drops the handkerchief and he goes into the house with his wife Desdemona. Emilia is left alone. She picks up the handkerchief or the napkin. Okay, now Iago wants to take the handkerchief and to drop it at Cassio's room. Okay, so if Cassio has the handkerchief, it means that Desdemona is betraying Othello with him. Okay, so later on, Cassio will find the handkerchief and he will give it to his prostitute Bianca and he asks her to copy this handkerchief. So at a certain point in the play, she fights, i.e. Bianca fights with Cassio. She throws his handkerchief onto the ground and Othello is there watching them. Okay? So Cassio meets Bianca in a certain place. Iago takes Othello to that place. And Othello shows that Bianca has thrown away his own handkerchief, i.e. the handkerchief that he has given to Desdemona. He becomes sure that Cassio is his wife's lover. Okay? Now the handkerchief has a certain kind of significance. It is associated with chastity, with faithfulness, with the honor of the wife. Okay? So I will leave the discussion at this point. I will discuss the significance of the handkerchief to Othello himself. It is very important to him. And we will proceed with the discussion of the play. Do you have any question?
No,
No,
but I
thanks,
want to
Doctor. Very
comment
clear.
on something. Doctor, we observe a misunderstanding of an action leads to the destruction of them. It's very sorrowful because they pay the price of something isn't done.
Yes, they are the victims of Iago's
Yes,
villain nature. Of course, and the tragic hero should be innocent. Okay, he
Doctor,
shouldn't
if you
be.
don't mind,
He shouldn't be punished. Okay, so in this case, Osanu is not punished. Okay, so according to theory, the tragic hero starts off as an innocent character, i.e., he's completely innocent, but he acquires knowledge throughout the course of the play. Okay, you want to ask a question? Someone was saying something.
yes, doctor, if you don't mind, can you tell us about the exam? We don't have samples in our hands.
Okay, we'll talk about the exam next Wednesday during the last session because at 12 I have another class. Okay, so we don't have time to discuss the exam. So on Wednesday I will conclude Osano, and if you have questions related to the course, you will ask me your questions. Okay? So we will discuss the exam during the last session.
Okay, thank you,
thanks,
doctor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will meet tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Okay, see you.
Okay, bye.